Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Ku. Today we're going to talk about one of the biggest, flashiest, and most fascinating stages in human history, the World's Fairs, also called Expo. It all started in London back in 1851. And ever since, these events have been where humanity shows off its dreams, inventions, and even a little bit of madness. And you'll be surprised things like the telephone, the light bulb, the Eiffel Tower, the Ferris wheel, and even the ice cream cone were first introduced at World's Fairs. So, let's hop into our time machine and take a tour through history. So let's start where it all began, London, 1851. Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria, wanted to show the world the power of the Industrial Revolution. So they built the legendary Crystal Palace in Hyde Park. This massive structure was made entirely of glass and iron, over 500 meters long, 30 meters high, with 290,000 panes of glass. People at the time said it looked like a building from the future, or even like the sky had turned transparent. Inside, the exhibits were jaw-dropping. The US showed off McCormick's mechanical reaper, a machine that revolutionized farming. Farmers said, "We won't starve anymore." India displayed jewels, ivory, and fine carpets, reminders of Britain's vast empire. France brought elegant fashion and crystal. Britain itself proudly displayed massive steam engines and textile machines. Some were so loud that visitors literally covered their ears and screamed in shock. One journalist wrote, "The value of the objects here could finance an entire small country, and apparently, because there were no elevators, people had to climb up to see huge machines, sometimes on their hands and knees." The 1855 Expo was different. Instead of just machines, they added a dedicated fine arts gallery. The French wanted to prove that they weren't just about industry, but about culture too. Paintings by masters like Delacroix and Ingres were displayed, blending industry with art for the first time. In 1867, they built a huge round building with national pavilions inside. You could walk through it and feel like you were traveling the world in a single day. Russia showed their samovars. Japan brought exquisite embroidery, porcelain, and ukiyo-e prints. This was actually one of the first times Europeans tasted sushi. The Russian novelist Dostoevsky visited and said, "This is a theater of human civilization." 1878 was the year of electricity. Edison's light bulb was unveiled here. Imagine walking into a hall at night, and suddenly the place lights up like daytime. People shouted, "It's like bringing the sun indoors." And here's another cool story. The head of the Statue of Liberty was displayed at the fair. France was still building the statue for the US, but they gave visitors a preview. Americans were thrilled. That's gonna stand in New York? And then came 1889, the year of the Eiffel Tower. Built to mark the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution, it stood 300 meters tall. At first, Parisians hated it. Artists called it an eyesore. But by the end of the fair, it had already become Paris's greatest landmark. Visitors who climbed the tower said, it was like seeing the city from heaven for the first time. The 1900 Paris Expo was all about the future. They introduced the world's first moving sidewalk, what we now see in airports. Imagine the shock of standing on a walkway that carried you forward without moving your legs. Rudolf Diesel unveiled his diesel engine, and Paris opened its metro system in sync with the fair. With over 50 million visitors, Paris was truly the capital of the world. Now let's head to the US. In 1876, America celebrated its centennial with the Philadelphia Expo. Here, Alexander Graham Bell unveiled the telephone. Imagine picking up a receiver, speaking into it, and hearing someone's voice come out the other end for the first time ever. People froze in shock. One elderly man even cried, calling it a new ear from God. The typewriter also made its debut here. People joked, handwritten letters might soon be a thing of the past. Then came the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, and it was like something out of a movie. The fairgrounds were called the White City because they glowed with electric lights. And for the first time in history, the Ferris wheel appeared 80 meters high. Back then, it was almost as tall as the tallest building in the world. Riders screamed in fear and joy as they looked down at Chicago from the sky. This was the birth of the Ferris wheel we all know from theme parks today. Chicago's Expo also helped popularize foods like hot dogs and deep dish pizza. Newspapers wrote about celebrities enjoying fair food, making it trendy worldwide. In St. Louis, 1904, something sweet happened. The ice cream cone was born. Before then, ice cream was served in bowls, but a vendor rolled a thin waffle into a cone shape. Scooped ice cream on top and boom, instant hit. The ice cream cone became a worldwide favorite. Fast forward to 1970, Osaka, Japan. Asia's first major expo. The symbol? The Tower of the Sun, a giant, unusual sculpture that still stands today. People thought it looked strange, but now it's an iconic Japanese landmark. The expo also helped spread color television around the world. For many Japanese, this was proof that their country was now standing shoulder to shoulder with the West. And then 2010 in Shanghai, the biggest expo ever. Over 190 countries participated and 70 million people visited. China used this event to declare, "We are now at the center of the world." The entire area along the Huangpu River was redeveloped, and even today you can still see the impact of that expo on Shanghai's skyline. Of course, not every expo was perfect. Some ended in huge debts, almost bankrupting the host city. But most of the time, expos left behind legacies. Paris got its metro, Chicago its city plan, Osaka its bullet trains, and they were cultural melting pots. Europeans tasted sushi for the first time, heard African drums, and saw Asian ceramics. Meanwhile, Asians marveled at electric lights, railroads, and pianos. The fairs weren't just exhibitions, they were cultural collisions. So, from the Crystal Palace in London to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Ferris wheel in Chicago, the Tower of the Sun in Osaka, and the record-breaking Expo in Shanghai, the world's fairs have been where humanity showed off its dreams. And they're not over yet. The next expos will bring new surprises. So, what invention would you like to see unveiled at a future World's Fair? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget subscribe. Thanks.